For those of you who don't know what Danganronpa is, I'll do my best to explain. It's like if you took a visual novel, a point-and-click adventure, and Phoenix Wright mashed them together, added first-person tank controls, took a ton of acid, and then gave it a pop art Harajuku makeover and an M rating. That's what the game is like, at least. There's also an anime that's super important to the story. It's all weird, it's very Japanese, and it's meaningful. Essentially, each Danganronpa game boils down to your protagonist character and a group of other kids being stuck in a killing game. The way to win is to kill and get away with it, which means being found innocent in a class trial. If the murderer is found innocent, they win, and everyone else dies. If they're found guilty, they die. Danganronpa is a convoluted tale, one that exposes our darkest capabilities in the struggle for survival, but also reveals the magic of the human conscience and what we're capable of in the name of civility. It's a constant duality, if you will. This struggle is not unlike our own world, which hangs in a balance. The existence of society is held up by elected principles invented by an intelligent, group-oriented species. Don't steal, obey the law. Do not kill. The foundation of society hinges on the mutual agreement upon those principles to keep it together. This concept, this way of living, this culture has been in development for thousands of years. One could say society is alive in its own way. It grows, changes, gives birth to new factions and offshoots of itself. And one day it will inevitably die, for all things will one day cease to exist. Cells divide and die, humans are born and pass away, the sun rises and sets, stars condense and burn out, and eventually the universe itself will meet its inevitable end. Therefore, the inventions and constructs of human consciousness are not permanent. With our passing, our ideas of standard time, love, longing, and family will disappear with our society. Does this bring you despair? Or does this bring you hope? Will you simply give it up for naught, or will you focus on a way to extend our species past the brink? Will you live your life in nihilistic abandon, or will you dream of humans leaving Earth for new horizons elsewhere in the galaxy before the sun goes all red giant and consumes our galactic home? Or does your despair bring you the hope of something more? Or do your hopes leave you with despair for fear of them never coming true? Duality, the idea that all things have an equal and exact opposite, is a constant human predicament. While our brains work to box things into logical puzzle pieces, reality dictates that there are two sides to every coin. And without both sides, that coin could not possibly exist. Even matter itself has its flip side. Antimatter or whatever. However, this inescapable reality leads back to the ultimate question. A question that ties all of Danganronpa together. If there are two sides to everything, and everything is equal, what really matters and why? If you can't have a coin without both sides, then how can we say hope is better than despair? Worry not, chitlins, for Treesicle has the answer. So prepare yourself for an allegory of the fragility of the world we live in, for a yarn about how fast everything can simply fall apart, for a tragedy, the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history, for the worst, most despair-inducing incident in the history of mankind. And waifus, murder, panties, and a little more than a dash of necrophilia. This is the story of Danganronpa. The story you never knew. Perhaps you thought that intro was long-winded? Well, I cut it down from 5 pages, you dingleberries. Turns out when you are discussing the dynamics between hope and despair and the relationship between them, it takes a hot minute. So let's start from the start. The despair arc of the Danganronpa anime. The end of Hope's Peak Academy. Hope's Peak is a school for the absolute best of the best. Masters of their individual crafts. A breeding ground for future leaders in everything from science to fashion to culinary to yakuza to serial killer. Yeah. Naturally, this school was the most coveted in the world for anyone hoping to be something. A year before the time of Class 77B, a reserve course was opened up, allowing normal kids, whose parents were able to spend an insane amount of tuition money, to attend Hope's Peak for the prestige. I'd like to make a quick note here about the talented and the wealthy. Anyone from any walk of life can be born with any degree of talent. Call it a miracle or whatever, but there are people with special gifts born every day in the wealthiest and the seediest places in the world. It's unbiased. However, much like politics, generally the wealthy have the ability to worm their way into anything by buying it. This can lead to corruption and dissent between classes, causing societal cracks or sometimes worse. Just look at the fall of Rome! Just a note. Moving on, one of these kids was a boy named Hajime Hinata, who was an admirer of Hope's Peak and what it stood for. Hope for the future. However, there's an issue with something like Hope's Peak Academy. There is always an elite. It's just the way things are. However, they will always be the minority. A look into history shows that no matter how great an individual power may be, it can always be crushed by the masses. Just look at any pre-21st century war with Russia or the French Revolution. But to gather the world elite and put them in one place and put them on a pedestal shifts public perspective, making them seem like they're more than what they are. This can inflate superiority complexes and worse, cause disdain amongst the majority. Jealousy and desire are dangerous forms of kindling, but inflated ego is just as flammable. Hajime was by all rights a normal person with big aspirations. He wanted to be in the standard class of Hope's Peak so bad he agreed to take part in the top secret and highly illegal Izuru Kamakura project. This was conducted by a faction within Hope's Peak. Originally, Hajime thought he would be given talent, but in truth, his memories were erased, his body and mind augmented, and his existence overwritten. Hajime Hinata was officially expelled, his body and mind tortured through horrible and inhumane human experimentation. He was transformed into Izuru Kamakura, the ultimate hope, a person whose talent was talent itself, the ability to be perfect at everything. In a world with the best and brightest on display, it's not hard to believe that someone ordinary would offer themselves up for a chance to join the stars. But was it for hope? Or because of despair? And in the end, how can we say it mattered? Around the same time, twin sisters Junko Enoshima and Mukuro Ikusaba were scouted by the steering committee of Hope's Peak. Junko enrolled as the ultimate fashionista, and her sister as the ultimate soldier. They were placed into Class 78 a year after Hajime's transformation. Junko, however, had additional skills which separated her from her peers, particularly a knack for analysis, allowing her to always be a step ahead, like Batman, but with a bigger chest. However, because of this talent, she became bored. Being able to predict the outcome of any situation left her with a desire for chaos. And for her, the ultimate chaos was despair. You see, unlike other emotions, despair and its counterpart, hope, are like a disease. They can spread and infect people. They say in war, morale is the most important weapon. To succumb to despair is to be defeated before you lose. Junko's desire to build the greatest despair ever known started with Hope's Peak, the greatest hope ever known. After her injunction, Junko proceeds to scoop out the eye of a Hope's Peak trustee with a spoon covered in curry, and then she uses that eye to gain access to the room Izuru, formerly Hajime, was being held in. During the brief encounter, Junko manages to manipulate Izuru into becoming interested in her plans for despair. Shortly after, she runs into Ryota Mitarai, the ultimate animator of Class 77B. Ryota had developed a technique using light flashes to implant emotion and experience into his viewers' minds, something Junko took great interest in. With her discovery of Izuru and Ryota's animation skills, Junko put her first plan into action. Show Izuru how awesome despair can be! Junko gathered the student council and Izuru together in the old Hope's Peak Academy building, locked them in with weapons, and showed them all individual threatening or blackmailing videos. The idea being that if they all killed each other, the last one standing would be able to hide their individual scandal. The student council rejected the game until Karen Kisaragi opened her folder to find a picture of her mother in danger. Driven insane by despair brought on by fear for her mother's safety, she killed another student council member, setting off a killing frenzy. During the confrontation, Izuru was grazed by a bullet which shocked him for the first time. Like Junko, Izuru was also bored from being perfect. The surprise and pain showed him how truly exciting despair can be. Izuru then killed the student who shot at him. With her plan complete, Junko set out an email to the reserve course students, revealing the student council murders and Izuru's existence. She pins the murders on Izuru and reveals he was created with the insane amount of tuition money from the reserve course, resulting in a riot. This was the first killing game, the beginning of the end, and the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Shortly after, Junko used the footage of the killing game she taped and Ryota's animation methods to develop a brainwashing technique. She achieved her goal of completing the despair tape by blackmailing Ryota. She then tested it on a reserve course student, forcing them to commit suicide. The rest of the reserve course students then created a secret society where they watched the footage of the student council killing game, some of them over 5,000 times. In the meantime, Junko moved forward with her plans for 77B. She captured their class rep Chiaki and forced the rest of the 77B students to watch remotely as she was forced through a gauntlet. Though determined to make it through, Chiaki was killed. The death of their friend and class rep drove 77B so far into despair they eventually became the ultimate foot soldiers of Junko, the ultimate despairs. Around the same time, the brainwashed reserve students stormed Hope's Peak Academy, murdering every student except the members of Class 78, who, with the help of Junko, barricaded themselves inside the school building. Junko contacted the reserve corps students, commanding them all to commit suicide as the riot spread further and further, eventually leading to world wars and the complete collapse of society. During this time, Junko prepared for her next killing game inside the halls of the fortified Hope's Peak Academy with the last remaining survivors of Class 78. This is where the Danganronpa games start. With Class 78's memories erased, they wake up locked inside Hope's Peak under the impression it's their first day of school. That is, until Monokuma shows up and explains to them the killing game. From there, the battle of hope and despair rages. The object of the killing game is to back an individual into a corner. Either take away everything and leave them with nothing to lose, or give them an offer so good they can't refuse. The rules and laws, the moral codes of society work because they're built into you. From birth, you're taught right and wrong, virtually given a conscience. In nature, it's simply survival of the fittest, no conscience. You do what you must to preserve your own life. However, people found what most consider a better way to live, one where we work together to achieve our goals. In order for the killing game to work, those morals must be literally stripped from a contestant through either hope or despair. The secret to hope and despair is simple. It's desire. There is no such thing as content. Human beings were not designed to be content, if you think about it. If humans were able to be content, we probably would have gone extinct a long time ago from some disease or famine. Humans need to work. We need to strive for more. We need to hope. We naturally desire more. But desire also leads to despair, wanting that which you can't have. Ironically, this is one of the fundamental pieces of Buddhist philosophy, relinquishing desires. Another is the understanding of duality. So let me point you one last time towards Monokuma. This Robo-Bear is Junko's killing game avatar and represents the struggle within the competitors of the killing game. It's no coincidence he resembles a yin-yang. One side is white and cute, the other is black and demonic, light and dark, hope and despair, the two motivations for murder. For example, in the first part of Danganronpa 1, the killing game contestants are given motivational DVDs depicting their loved ones in peril, possibly dead. This traumatized a girl named Sayaka, leading her to construct a plot to commit murder and pin it on another. This was an attempt to get through the class trial without being caught so she could save her friends at the expense of all the other contestants' lives. Sounds pretty crazy, right? Something you would never do. Right? Before you get all high and mighty about how you would never kill no matter what, let me ask you a philosophical question. If murdering an innocent child would bring world peace and hunger and sadness for everyone, Would you do it? Would it be for hope? Hope that the world's pain would end? Or would it be for despair? The sadness of the state of things? What would you do? The times we live in are scary. There's cyber threats to national security every day. America is continually degrading its foreign relations. The economy has been hanging in the balance for years. Wall Street is constantly under risk of crash. On a broader scale, there are people without homes, refugees begging for sanctuary, starving children, disease, famine, crime. Even our planet seems to be rebelling against our species from what we've done to our own atmosphere out of ignorance, laziness, and greed. Does it make you despair? Do you get lost in it? Does a tweet ruin your day? Can you not think about how much you enjoy your bed when you know that out there are millions of people dying painfully? Or do you hope? Do you see the good in people? The charities run off of selfless donations that are curing children of disease. The people working to bring our planet back from the brink. The firefighters and just law enforcers who risk their lives to save others. The independent scientists working to find ways for the blind to see and the deaf to hear. To allow people the ability to walk again. The friends you made all over the world because of a video game you like. What do you desire the most? If you had it, would you actually be happy? How far would you go to get what you want? Under the surface of a game filled with fan service and lewd jokes is a moral quandary that has spanned the entire existence of the human species. Hope and despair, the children of desire, the ultimate motivation to achieve or destroy. One can simply not exist without the other, for without despair, there is no hope, and without hope, despair can't grow. It's what you desire that can corrupt your hope into despair. And while it's impossible to rid yourself of all desire, the understanding of your wants can mean the difference between life and death. What we have here comes down to choice. We have hope and despair, and desire feeds them both. All of these are natural instincts, yet society exists against the fundamentals of natural instinct. The instinct to take, the instinct to destroy anything in our way. So what if someone realized that? What if they already have? Manipulating societal ideals to exploit natural instinct, motivating you to hope for your desires to be fulfilled, which can easily result in catastrophe if that hope is directed by someone filled with despair. It can bring who you thought you were to your knees, and reveal exactly what you were capable of all along. Possibly the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. That's the story of Danganronpa. The story you never knew.
Okay, David Crane, producer of the hit 90s sitcom Friends. I made Danganronpa, the story you never knew. Can I go?
Well, seeing as your stupid Jewish friend sick Jesus on my ass, I have no choice but to let you go. But I have to say, after multiple years of spamming you with requests for Danganronpa, the story you never knew, you didn't even touch the games.
Well, if you want more Danganronpa, I suggest smashing that like button, subscribing, hitting that bell, so that I know that you want more.
Maybe read the comments?
I mean...
That's fine. It's mostly cancer anyway. Goodbye for now, Grandpa from Treesicle.
Oh, you're back! How was Utah? Oh, alright. Go drink some coffee. We're streaming at 5.